Hey, so let's talk about what it means to be a scientist. Now, formally speaking, I'm the chief scientist at a company. I've been a scientist my whole adult life. I've written hundreds of research papers, but writing papers is not what it means to be a scientist. Really, being a scientist is about questioning everything. It's about taking assumptions that people make in daily life and assuming they might be wrong. So let's take just something obvious like exercise is good for you, right? Of course, everyone should exercise. Exercise is so important for health. Oh, really? Is that true? Well, I just watched a video from Dr. Kiltz where he listed his 5 causes of chronic disease, and one of those 5 was intense exercise. And he's arguing that people should actually exercise less. And, so that's really interesting, right? Everyone assumes exercise is good for you, but then Dr. Kiltz says, actually, there's no proof. So that's an example of what it means to be a scientist. You take something that everyone assumes is true and you ask, could it be false? Let's look at some other things. Well, what are the other causes of disease that Dr. Kiltz mentions? Well, the other 4 are all related to plants, plant toxins, plants fermenting your gut. So that's another one, which is that vegetables are good for you, right? Well, turns out they're not. And so I just advocate for everyone to try to think like a scientist, question everything, take the very basic assumptions that have been taught to you, simple things like you should brush your teeth, you should use toothpaste, you should floss your teeth, you should shower, you should use soap in the shower, you should wash your hands with soap, and you should use shampoo. Well, what if all of those things were false? Well, what a scientist does, and what I did, is that you assume it might be false and then you test it out. I dropped all of those things. I stopped brushing my teeth. I stopped using soap. I stopped using shampoo, and stopped using toothpaste, all these things. And guess what? I was fine. And in fact, I felt great. It didn't affect my health at all. Here's another one, which is that, oh, you have to avoid raw meat because, you have to be worried about bacteria and parasites. Well, guess what? I tried raw meat. I've eaten it for months. I was fine. That's what being a scientist is. A scientist questions the standard dogma. A scientist questions the foundations of what we think is true. So think like a scientist. Let me know if there's other things you think that I should question, and I'll test it out experimentally, and we should usually test it out too. All right, let me know.